everyone, welcome to Dragon XIII Gaming. My name is Brian, and today we're going to be playing Under a Killing Moon. Now, this game came out in 1994. It's not the first game in its series, which features the private investigator Tex Murphy. It is, in fact, the third game in that series. But we're not starting at the beginning because, in my opinion, the first two games really don't add that much to the storyline. Again, that's just my opinion. They're very good games, and if you're interested in this series, absolutely go back and play them. For me, my exposure to these games started in 1995, which was the year after Under a Killing Moon came out. So, Under a Killing Moon comes out 1994, 1995, I pick it up and start playing it, and that introduces me to this character and these characters in this world. So, the three games that I consider to be the core of this series are Under a Killing Moon, Pandora Directive, and Overseer, all featuring the fictional private detective Tex Murphy. Now, the game is set in 2042, which is, kind of interesting because it paints a picture of what people in 1994 thought the future of 2042 might look like. It takes place in the aftermath of World War III, at which point most of the world was devastated by nuclear war. Not an entirely original story, I admit. Especially nowadays, we have plenty of games, books, movies that all tell the same story. Fallout, just as an example. But it's still really interesting to me to see what different people think the future might be like, whether it's told through books, movies, or video games. It's just so interesting.
No pestilence has ever been so
like I say, this game takes place in 2042. Tex Murphy is a private investigator living in San Francisco. Now, in 2042, the world as we know it has changed. So most of the world has been devastated by nuclear war, and that creates new social and economic classes. And those are broken down into the norms, people who had built up a natural resistance to the radiation and didn't mutate, and you have your mutants, who are generally considered to be the less human version, for lack of a better word. No X-Men here, people. Just somewhat hideously deformed unfortunates. Now, the game has some fairly big-name actors in it. They certainly got some pretty good people. Brian Keith, for instance, is a very prolific actor who is part of the film and television industry for over 50 years. Margot Kidder was Lois Lane in the original Superman movies. Russell Means played a character in Last of the Mohicans, as well as doing the voice for the Chief in Pocahontas. And of course, James Earl Jones, Darth Vader himself, provides some of the voiceover work. Now, the game is fairly heavy on exposition because they were experimenting with this live-action technology, which, they used real actors in real situations to tell their story. Obviously, by today's standards, the graphics aren't great, but, remember, this was 1994. They're doing the best with what they've got, I guess you could say. But, oh man, when I played this in 1995, it blew me away. Just completely put me on my ass, because I couldn't believe that something like this existed in a video game. Of course, like I say, nowadays we're, I guess, kind of spoiled with how good video games are getting. But I thought it'd be interesting to go back and record myself playing this game and then share that with you guys. So that's what we're going to do.
Now it's just another grimy building in a rundown part of town.
So as a private investigator, Tex is, he's kind of like a man out of time. He really doesn't belong in the 2040s. As he himself states at some point in the series, I don't remember if it's this game or the next one, he felt like he should have been born in the 1940s, which sort of lines up with what the creators of the series originally intended. They said that he was heavily influenced by fictional detectives such as Sam Spade from the Maltese Falcon. So, you know, they were basing the character on fictional detectives from the 1920s and 30s.
Yep, I'm gonna move to the tropics and retire.
So he kind of goes about things with sort of an old-fashioned, kind of gritty film noir sort of a touch, and just sort of, you know, manages to solve mysteries along the way, I guess. Very good private investigator, but also pretty clumsy. You know, throughout the course of the game, you're always getting into trouble and then having to get yourself out of it. But a lot of the troublesome situations that you find yourself in are actually your fault in the first place. So maybe if you had just left well enough alone, you wouldn't have been in the situation to begin with.
Enough about me. How about you?
This is Brian Keith, by the way. He plays the Colonel. That's Tex Murphy's mentor in the PI biz, so to speak.
Well, Saturday's not too bad.
They had a bit of a falling out, which was alluded to in the very first game of the series, Mean Streets. But, you know, that game was fairly primitive, not just by today's standards, but even by 1994 standards. So people may not have a real strong sense, even if they've played the first two games, they may not have a real strong sense of these characters' relationships coming into this game.
But that's all gonna
But
pass.
you learn a little bit more about that during the course of the game. I'm really going to try not to give too much away as I play this game. I've played this game a number of times over the years. Just the first time was back in 1995. But I've actually played this game as recently as 4 or 5 years ago. I remember most of what I need to do, so I'm just going to, you know, do what I remember, and we'll see how it goes. I'll try, like I say, I'll try not to give too much of the story away as we go, but, you know, I'm human, just like anyone else. I might give things away. So, you know, I guess maybe spoiler alert, but what do you really need a spoiler alert for? You're watching the video, so obviously you want to see what's going on. We're, you know, seeing a whole lot of video here, and we're going to see the story step by step.
The first rule of a PI.
Have a great time.
Never,
Alrighty.
betray your friend.
So,
Now, friendship goes beyond blood.
you know, like I say, these early episodes, and especially this first one, are going to be very heavy on exposition because there are quite a few cutscenes in the game that you just sort of, I mean, you can click through them, but for the purpose of allowing you guys to see it, and obviously subtitles across the bottom so that you can, you know, read the interactions between the characters if you're interested. Mute my voice if you don't want to listen to me talk. That's just fine too. But so the cutscenes really just, you know, they set everything up. They set up the story, they set up the characters, they give you a chance to understand sort of what's going on. There was a little bit there between Tex and the Colonel about, you know, what had happened between them in the past and all that sort of thing. But really what the Colonel came to tell Murphy is to stay out of his way. The Colonel's on a new big case, and he doesn't want Tex to interfere. Now, that being said,
So last
The
night, after 15 years, the colonel walks into my office.
we don't really have any reason to get involved because we don't actually know what the colonel is doing. Maybe it's a little foreshadowing, maybe not. All we know is that the colonel's visit
Contrary
has
to what the colonel might
kicked
think,
Tex,
I'm as good a detective as he
kicked him in the
ever
butt,
was.
I guess you would say, and
Scare up a job
made him
means
realize,
finding
oh
somebody's
my God,
license.
what am I doing with my life? I've got to get things back on track. So, I'm going to end the video pretty soon, but before I do, I just want to touch a little bit on the controls. I may be a little rusty at them because, it's a little weird. This is the interaction mode. Obviously, you can, look at various things. I can hover my magnifying glass
Pure
here
mountain
over the
spring
water
water is
cooler and
indispensable, literally,
look at
no
the
matter
water
paper
cooler,
cups.
and then Tex will describe it for us. And this also allows me the various options to get things, to move things, open things, talk to people, turn things on and off, so on and so forth. To move around in the 3D environment, or at least the best approximation of a 3D environment that they could come up with in 1994, you actually press the space bar to toggle interactive or movement mode. Once you're in movement mode, you move by moving your mouse. Turn left, move your mouse to the left, turn right, move your mouse to the right. Want to go forward? Move your mouse forward. You want to go back? Move your mouse back. You can adjust the camera angle using the arrow keys. You can adjust the camera height all the way down to the bottom like you're crouching, and then all the way up to the top like you're standing on a footstool. And in this way, you explore this, as I say, this, the best interpretation of a fully 3D environment that they could come up with in 1994. But we're going to leave it off there for today because I don't want to let these episodes run too long and bore everyone with having to watch a whole lot at once. But we'll come back next time and we'll get started right into the game. I want to thank everyone for watching, and we'll see you next time.